Hello, and welcome to the Ergo AMA, weekly AMA. It is Wednesday, February 12th in sunny New York and dark Japan. You can see it's very dark in Japan because it's dark there in his picture, and he's very frozen. Dan had to do a reboot of his machine like 10 minutes ago, but I think he's still on one of those like IBM or HP Intel 486s, so it's taking him at least 30 minutes to reboot. So we're going to kick this off without him today. And you may be wondering, why is this on Wednesday? And that's because our amazing AV person is traveling tomorrow, so we decided to move this a little earlier. So it's my job to start this for you before Dan gets here. That's great. Maybe we can cover everything, and then by the time Dan gets here, he won't even have to talk, and he can just go. So start popping your questions in the side there to give me something to chat about as well. But as far as Ergo goes, everything's going great, everybody, right? We have Binance, some progress on Binance for Rosen Bridge, and I love how Rosen Bridge is getting more, I don't want to say ballsier, but they're getting more obvious with their major goal here, right? And that's to backdoor all these central exchanges. And a lot of you may have been following a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, where we are trying to backdoor Kraken, right? With Rosen Erg or Erg. So we applied for both. We threw both in a couple weeks ago when Peter asked us to, and I mean, we'll take what we can get. We have enough liquidity on Cardano, I think as much or more than some of the exchanges on the Ergo side. So I think any idea there would be great either way. So looking forward to that. We should see the guard code coming soon. We'll apply that to the guards, make sure that's all hunky-dory, and then you should see a watcher update there as well. One thing I want to tell you, I think I said it in the dev update the other day, the way the watcher and guard software work is it's through Docker, right? So there are repositories that are registered on Docker. And part of those repositories aren't Rosen Bridges repositories, right? They are like the PSQL program, which actually stores a database. So what happened is the main official repository for that SQL software, I think, was pulled. So if you're restarting a watcher or getting ready to spin up a watcher for Binance or just anything like that, or moving your watches, you're going to get an error there unless you follow the instructions, the new instructions in the list. So if you're trying to use the same software, the same folder that you did before, and you're trying to pull it, you need to do a little bit of research just to read the instructions again. There's just another SQL, PSQL repository that we're using now that works just fine, and it's no different there. In the guards, we had to migrate our database over to do it. When I did it for my watcher first, I just bombed it through without a migration, so it just had to pull new stuff down. But yeah, so be aware of that when you're prepping for that kind of stuff, if you're going to run a Binance or you're moving your watches around. Well, I had more to say, Dan, and you showed up. I was expecting it to be like 30 minutes late.
Oh, it's okay. It just seems that I'm 30 minutes early because you're talking about watchers and stalking and whatever you're talking about right now.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
How's it going, Dan? Big stuff in Cardano, right? And in Cardano land with your token, right? No?
Well, soon, yeah. It's going to be launching. So we're planning to G for probably later this month. So that's that is on the horizon, and so we're going to be using Rosen Bridge heavily. You were just talking about Rosen Bridge, right? You weren't really talking about watchers and stalking and things like that.
Yep.
I hope not.
No. It was Rosen.
We don't need any more weirdness from you, QX.
Anything's expected, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we're going to be using Rosen Bridge pretty heavily. So right now we're actually planning to use it. Well, of course, Cardano and Ergo. We have assets that are going to be moved to Ergo from Cardano. We also have assets that are going to be moved to EVM. So we're going to do like the multiple, the multi-chain launch type of situation. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting how that pans out. Our market makers are going to have a lot of fun with that.
What's this?
Yeah.
Can you fill me in, Dan? I'm on Twitter. I can go through breaks on Twitter sometimes, but you're having a CEX listing. Is that what I saw? A Sex and a Dex listing?
Yeah, so we actually got several in the oven right now. Yeah, and so we're going to be, of course, going into the biggest dexes, and we also have a couple of sexes already in the pipeline, and we're going to be signing with more. We're just kind of trying to, I guess, plan it out for well strategically so that we have deep liquidity versus just thinning it out and over a bunch of different exchanges because
Right.
actually there's quite a few exchanges that you can just sign with and get listed if you have the money, and I mean they kind of have volume ish, some of them it's kind of fake, some of them it's organic, some of them it's a mix of organic and fake. But in the end, it's just kind of like, okay, so where do you want to concentrate your liquidity? Because, like for example, we had, well, still have the opportunity to sign with a pretty major one, but it costs a bunch of money, and so the choice that I made was, well, instead of spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to list on this thing right now. I'll spend that $100,000 or $200,000 to bring liquidity, and to bring support to the actual token. So yeah, it just made more sense like that. Have more control over where it goes, and that's just seems like a better plan. Yeah, so that's it's going to be later this month. Yeah, planning
Yeah,
that we're gonna do that pretty soon.
yeah, I agree. I think strategically distributing your liquidity is wise. As long as you're not suffering for access, right? Because there's that trade-off. Do you spread liquidity over several different places so that there's more access to more people, or do you maybe take a hit on access and make your liquidity quite deeper so that the people that want to buy can really invest in your token without too much damage to their price impact or slippage kind of thing. So yeah, that's got to be a
Yeah. Well, I mean,
tough thing to
that's
work
like
out.
that's really the bottom line here is right. So you want to have really stable trading when you just
Yeah.
launch, because there's going to be quite a few people coming in there, for the trading side of it, and there's going to be some unlocks happening. So you want it to be really smooth. You don't want it to have, you don't want to have like really low volume and then have these ridiculous spikes and then really I mean, even if it spikes up, you still can't really do anything with that if you're a trader, right? Because there's no volume,
Yeah.
and if there's no volume, well, then it's like, well, as soon as you try to do anything with that, it's going to dump the price. So it's
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
basically the plan here is that we're going to strategically use only a couple of sexes at first to bring pretty deep volume in, or significant volume in, have it stabilize, and then we can branch out from there. Because we actually we signed with a very good market maker, like a really prominent one. So that should and they're one of the things is they actually have a strategy for us to it's like, okay, so we should do this and this and this, and for your pathway to if you want to get it on a tier one exchange. Oh, and so I got a question here actually from Big 3D asking is will RS Palm be listed on a SEX at launch? So I'd like to, but the thing is that I need support for RS Palm at a SEX. We're going to try to get that on the ones we have one. Actually, we have a couple that are very flexible about what they can do. They're not huge exchanges, but they're flexible, so we can potentially integrate RS Palm there. So that's something that will come, a little further down the line, but not at launch. Yeah, I mean, that's been my world in the past few weeks. Oh, and yeah, so if anybody is going to to Hong Kong, what is it? I guess next week. Um, I'm not going to be there, unfortunately. I have some family things to attend to, but Sam is going to be there.
Oh,
He's
nice.
Yeah, he's going to be hanging out with Kushti because Kushti's going to be there. So yeah, if you guys anybody's there, and you see Sam, ask him like the tough questions, like for example, why did he wear those short shorts the first time he represented Zengate at that whatever it was the consensus in Austin? He did that, and the first time my company was represented, and he wore these super short shorts that I forbid him to ever wear again.
Were they jean shorts like from?
No, no, they weren't jean shorts. They were like they had this like no, they were like some like design on them or something like, and it was like fishes or something. I forgot. It was just really awkward, and yeah, and we were like a little too short. Um, like they call them. I think in Australia, what is it called, like budgie smugglers?
I was gonna say they're not like Tobias's little jean shorts from Arrested
No,
Development.
no, no, no.
Okay, darn it. I can see that because I was picturing that, Dan. I was getting, that was, I may have had to shut off the camera at that point thinking about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't get too carried away.
Oop. Poor Sam. That's great.
Um,
Sam's going to be with Kushti.
yeah, yeah. It's gonna be there with Kushti.
Is
They're
this a
gonna be
booth? Is this a booth event? Do you have booths or just kind of just hang out,
no.
walk
So we're gonna
around,
have a
shake
booth
hands, kiss
with
puppies?
yeah, kiss puppies, kiss children that look like puppies and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, no, no. Well, what they're actually going to be doing there, doing some combined, Zengate Ergo work over there, talking to some potential funds and some exchanges that we could potentially again, do listings for Ergo and Ergo assets. Yes, they're going to have a pretty full schedule over there. Well, yeah, catch them at the event, and we're actually been really working, really fleshing out the lithium index as well.
Right,
So
right.
that's also been actually Sam's been doing a lot of the work over there, and he's been working with Kushti on really kind of try to flesh out exactly how the thing works. So I mean,
Like you got to
mostly
get
Sam.
Oracle 2 up and that kind of stuff, right? You got to
Yeah, yeah,
figure
like
all
like
that
some
stuff up.
push the input. Kushti's actually very proactive on it. He's actually trying to get more and more input, which is, of course, very, very welcome. I mean, it's great.
Does Sam ever get a vacation, Dan? Like how often do you let him out?
I don't. He's not
Okay.
old enough to have a vacation yet. No, sorry. It has to be at least, it has to be at least like in his mid-30s and losing much more hair. Then he gets a vacation. Maybe.
Oh, poor Sam.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how much hair he loses in a couple of years, and then then we'll wait against PTO and whatnot.
You're at least putting him on a flight to Hong Kong, not a boat, right?
Well, so this is actually he's not going on a boat, but he might as well be because like I tell him, just get yourself a nice flight. Yeah, and I mean it's like a 4-hour flight, but still it's 4 hours. You're 4 hours of sitting. And and I tell him, fly Cathay Pacific. It's not expensive, but it's nice, and it's not, it's not cheap, but it's not expensive, and it's nice, and they got good location at the airport, and it's a Hong Kong airline and everything. So he sends me a list of these like super cheap, like budget airlines, out of which I only know one. It's like, we fly, the like an airline it's like, it's called like we fly you and don't crash air or something. It's just some really like, I don't know. I don't know. He likes that kind of stuff. I
Well,
try to.
Dan, that's what you want for a COO. You want somebody that is price conscious, is sacrificing themselves.
Well, look, we're price conscious enough, all right? I mean, the last hotel I stayed in Singapore was in the middle of the red light district, and the
I'm
bed
sure that was an accident, Dan.
yeah, it was definitely an accident. It was actually in the tranny part, apparently in the tranny part of the red light district. So that was
Exactly.
even a bigger accident. Yeah, because I was telling you, I was driving down in a taxi back to the hotel from the conference, and I had one of those like see the sights, my friend type of taxi drivers, where he was just telling me, he's like, well, over here to the left you have this, and you have over here to the right you have this, and he's just like, oh yeah, well, so none of these are in the like, and he just points out, you see all those, like, yeah, none of them are girls. I'm like, oh great. So like anyway, and
Oh,
then
Dan.
my hotel room had no windows, zero, no windows, and
The
the bed.
sacrifices you make for this company, Dan.
Well, sacrifices that I make for our investors as well, because I mean, we'll bathe in luxury when we're bathing in massive
Lithium.
profits.
Yep. Right.
Well, you don't want to
Right.
bathe in lithium; it's toxic. But
Well, on-chain lithium, I guess. Right.
yeah, you can do
Lithium peg stablecoin.
yeah.
That's
So
nice.
yeah, so it's not the most pleasant thing, but like some things. I mean, like I got that hotel because it was actually the cheapest hotel I could find that was not like a hostel
Hmm.
or like an hour away from the conference. Um, and it was still relatively good rating. Because yeah, I usually try not to be super cheap on hotels. I usually like to kind of look for something that's comfortable and conveniently located, so that I can just kind of do the business and not worry about it. I mean, I don't need lap of luxury, but I don't want to be sleeping in a shack either. So,
I hear
but
you.
Sam
I hear
likes
you.
that. Sam is like, he was trying to get me to share a room with him the other in Tokyo. I'm like, no, man, you're getting your own room.
Maybe he's
Paying
just scared of being alone, Dan.
We're paying. Look, I've seen him in his underwear enough. Okay, in the past several years, we shared enough rooms. I'm like, look, man, we're somewhat funded now. We can afford another room. We can afford to pay another $150 for you to have your own room, and for me to have my freaking privacy, man. I'm 47 years old. I need my privacy. I'm cranky.
That's very sweet. Dan, I'm looking through the Hong Kong. There's a lot of speakers here. I'm wondering if Dan, if you're sending Sam with a bunch of Ergo stickers that you stole from us, you should send them with them so they can paste them all over.
Yeah, we have Ergo stickers at the office. I'll make sure I'll load him up with Ergo stickers so that he's
Perfect.
representing over there. I
This is a,
still
this is
have.
a, this is a huge conference. I'm still scrolling. The whole time you're talking about your sleeping habits, I've been scrolling through the speaker list.
Yeah,
There's
no,
got to be like
it is.
300 speakers.
It's a shame I can't go, but yeah, it's my mom is in town, so I can't go.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah, so but yeah,
Oh,
Sam
that's
is
impressive.
going. He's going to go to all these parties. He's going to have all this fun. To me, most of these parties I go in there, I'm like, all right, where's the food and why is it so freaking loud? Yeah, because some of these, like, you have to know which ones to go to, because there's going to be a bunch of parties that are just going to be literally just clubs. Just people go clubbing at these things, and I'm just like, no, man, I don't want to go to club. I don't want to go clubbing. I want to talk to some people and do some networking.
All right, Dan, I'm scanning here. I got a guy here. I wanted to ask you a question here. And maybe that'll lead into something else. We got Edgin Yago from Bitcoin OS. Is that the same Bitcoin OS that was a big hype in Cardano
Yeah,
a couple months ago?
yeah. Yago.
Yeah, you know him? You know the guy? Best friend?
Not personally, but I know.
What happened to that? What happened to that
I
hype
know. I
and
know.
the
I know.
blowdown and
I
the blow
know
up?
an evil parrot that was named that. But anyway,
You know the
what do you
scoop
mean?
on
What
that?
happened?
Well,
There's,
so I look at these products and people say, "Oh, these competing with Rosen Bridge. Is this competing with this?
well, it's
Why
not
you
though.
said so?" Well, so
Like,
I look at these things and I'm like, okay, Rosen Bridge is so far from any centralized thing that anybody creates like this, that it's not even the same. I mean, sure, it gets a similar thing done, right? Well, not Bitcoin OS, but let's say other bridges gets a similar thing
Yeah.
done, but it's just such a different. I mean, like
Yeah, yeah.
I
It's like,
explain it to people even at conferences, and they're like, "Wait, what? You know, you have like 200 watchers, you have, you know, this many guards, and there's going to be 100 guards doing this. It's not like some dude and 5 of his friends with a bunch of keys that they're doing kind of thing. So it's like just a totally different
I mean,
animal. So
some of these products are competing. I don't feel that Rosen Bridge is in competition with Bitcoin OS at all. I mean, it's just a different approach. It solves a different, it solves many different issues. It handles data transfers differently. It's just it's a different animal. Like it's the, I just don't feel that it's like a direct competition. And the same um, with CKB. CKB has got a similar product, and it's RGB plus plus, and that's not really. I don't think it's competing with it. I think it's actually a really good complement to what Rosen Bridge does. So yeah, it's just like I think people who say that they don't really understand the real use cases for this thing. I just think that, because like Rosen Bridge is actually pretty damn unique in the way it does things. That's why we use it so much, and that's why we decided to, incubate it when it needed to get that boost. And that's why we're going to keep using it. And of course, it doesn't mean that we're not going to use other ones. But again, like for example, I have these other ones that were offered to me, and they were just centralized. Like, oh, well, we have a centralized bridge that can do this for you. I'm like, well, I don't want a centralized bridge. I don't want that. Like, it's just to me, it feels dirty. Like,
no, I mean, it's like it's with those kind of things. It's like it's not if, it's like when, right? When's that?
well,
When is some security
exactly.
breach going to happen?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I mean, I can't afford that. Like, for one of my main jobs is to minimize risk. To minimize the risk.
Sorry,
that,
Dan. 10% of your supply is now, washed because
Well,
somebody just cashed it out because they,
and yeah. I can't have that. I can't have that. That's irresponsible for me to do, and for the people that are in my ecosystem. So, I try to decentralize as much as possible, and whenever we actually are looking for other solutions with the different products that we have, we also try to do as much decentralization as possible, because number one, it is obviously a safer and more robust ecosystem, and it's also financially viable for us, because it eliminates pain points like security issues that we would have to deal with if it was centralized, amongst other things like auditing, for example. If you get a decentralized ecosystem with open source, you can,
Right.
we talked about this before, you have community auditing of the source code. So again, you're reducing risk like that as a company. So it just makes sense to me. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I don't feel like it's any kind of real competition, like headbutt competition, just different flavors, and whatever works for you for your particular use case is what you use.
Yeah. I feel like Rosen's a Swiss Army knife that you can download from the internet and 3D print and have a fully functional
Yeah, I actually have.
backdoor to everything. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, I
Very
have
nice,
one
Dan.
right here, and actually, I got this at the Swiss Army store in Zurich.
Wow. Was it
Yeah,
like $50?
I forgot how much it was, because you know who bought this for me?
Sam.
No, Charles Hoskinson.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Did
and
he?
actually,
Wow.
actually, this is not the only one he bought for me, and I actually don't have it here. I'll bring it to the next
Was he
AMA.
trying to send you a message, Dan?
He was trying to send me a message, just like do more shit. Um, and he actually, I have it downstairs, and is this just this big bulky thing, but he bought me the largest Like the well, accessory wise, a Swiss Army knife they make.
Oh, one of those big fat guys. It's
Yeah,
like
like it's
fatter
like
than it
this
is
wide.
wide.
It's like this wide.
Yeah.
It's got,
Yep.
it's got like a 12-piece socket set on it, and
An ironing board. Yeah.
ironing board, and French seasoning. Like
Awesome.
it's just, yeah, this crazy thing. I have it downstairs. I don't think I ever used it. I'm just like because the thing is like weird to hold, because the
Yeah.
blade
Yeah.
on it is about this big, but the handle is like this wide. So, but it was a good thought, and so it was a nice memory. This was back in
Back in the
2018.
old days, Dan.
Yeah, like back in the old days. Yeah.
All right,
So
guys. So I'm looking at Testnet right now, and Kushti had me push. He just had a new jar up for 6.0 RC2. I think there was a little tweak to RC2 we had to do, and we put it in, and I recognized why. If anybody's watching the dev update, you'd have seen Kushti say, "Why the hell is Testnet so irregular QX?" And it was because I was mining from a rig down in my basement that obviously needed a reboot. So I put on a temporary thing after I updated, and we're getting, let's see, the last 32 blocks were 16.77 seconds each. So Testnet's burning through till it gets up to the good difficulty where it'll slow down a little bit, but we've got faster than sub-blocks Testnet going on right now for Kushti to test sub-blocks on, and Unreal detects his front ends on that he's working on. So that's good. That's up. If anybody wants to join Testnet, please do. Reach out to me. I'll give you the config file. I'll give you the jar file. The more people we have running it, the better. That means I can reduce my GPU pointing to it. The rough thing about Testnet, Dan, is that if one person, let's say I'm mining it and I'm mining it with a 3090, and that's getting 250, 300 mega hash at it. If I do that for a couple of days, the difficulty is going to be pretty high. And if somebody comes in to help out in mines with their CPU, they're going to be hard luck finding a block for a while until the difficulty goes down. So
just
the more
like
people,
you do, actually make
I know,
it
I know.
difficult for everybody.
The more
Just-
people we have on Testnet, the better. So if you're up for it, you want to run a little machine, you have like an old 1050 or something like that you want to do card-based mining, I'll feel free. Even if you don't want to set up mining core or anything like that, spreading the hash is still good. I have a mining core testnet you can point to that does that as well. So just offering it out there to everybody, Dan.
It's very sweet of you.
What else is there to talk about? You following US at all? US crypto, that kind of stuff? There's so much speculation going on. It's like hard to keep track, Dan. I feel like there's like shock things thrown out there on the wall to see what's going to stick and see what people are going to freak out about and not freak out about. So I don't know if it's all a test or whatnot.
But the thing about it is that, I think actually we talked about this maybe on the last AMA. I remember having this conversation, but actually, no, it was actually another AMA that wasn't Ergo. But, I've been doing so many of these that it's a blur in my
You're just so famous. Yeah, I hear you, Dan.
Yeah, I'm so famous, I'm infamous.
Yeah.
Nobody gets that reference. Do you get the reference?
I'm infamous?
Yeah, he's so famous, he's infamous. It's from the Three Amigos.
Steve Martin. Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah, Steve Martin, exactly.
Martin Short, Steve Martin, and Chevy Chase, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I got it. I still got it, Dan.
Well, yeah, you still have
that was a good movie.
Long-term memory. That's great. Yeah, and so
yeah, so
hold on. So basically, what are we looking at? What are we experiencing right now in the U.S.? We're basically experiencing this like thing that happens to Google Meet when your connection slows down and then it catches up and then like it, so it has like. You know what it does, like when like everybody starts talking super fast because your connection is trying to catch up to the present. The same thing is happening in the U.S. This was supposed to start in like 2016. It was like 2015, 2016 is when it was supposed to start, really, in reality, and it didn't because Trump was elected, and instead of focusing on legislation and regulations, everybody started focusing on Trump. and from all sides. And so, and that's what happened. It just was just kind of left to be the wild, wild west because everybody was just so obsessed with Trump. And so now what we have is a delayed reaction. And that's why it's so intense. And that's why it's so like archaic, because now they know that they're already late. They know that they had like 4 years of Gensler just stopping his way through it, and that pissed off a lot of people and drove a lot of business out. They're like desperately trying to get the business back and the momentum back because so much crypto is American, because people are kind of dissing Trump's like, oh, American cryptos. How do you say it? Well, look, he kind of he's a character. But he doesn't just like with business. I just don't feel like I feel pretty much everything that he blurs out, even as like as crazy as it always sounds. There's always it's always part of some like plan, right?
No, that's what worries me, Dan. That's what worries me.
So like, but the thing about American crypto is, and I think and again, this is speculation, but what I think he's doing is he understands that a lot of this business was driven out of the U.S. It was just driven out. It was pushed out. ICOs were pushed out. Crypto companies were pushed out. Everybody went to Singapore, Seychelles, parts of Europe, Estonia, like everybody just kind of scattered out of the U.S. because of this, like I said, of the Gary Gensler Gestapo. Because nobody wanted to go to prison for this kind of stuff because the government can't decide how much money they want to keep of yours. So, but now what he says, okay, look, we want you back. We want you back because what it also did is it thinned out the pool that is needed to create sensible regulation. Because they pushed out so much business right now, they look at it and like, okay, so how do we make it happen? Because we don't really have a good like sandbox for these regulations because there's just not enough proper businesses operating out of the U.S. because everybody avoids it like the plague. Because of all these regulations. So he says, okay, American crypto, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I mean, it sounds crazy from the outside to some people, but to me, it sounds like he's trying to get these people back and settle down so that they can actually have a calm business audience, crypto and blockchain-based business audience that are not going to be scared of going to prison to sandbox with. And they're going to bring all this stuff back. And again, like I said, it's yeah, of course, it's like a slogan, like, yeah, we want American crypto. What's American crypto? But in the end, he just wants it back in the U.S. so they can make proper regulations so they can make sense out of it. And I think that that's smart if that's what's happening. Indeed, if that's what's happening. And again, going back to what you said about our kind of things getting a little archaic, well, then, like I said, that's what it gets like. It's like that volatility. If there's not enough volume, there's going to be crazy volatility. They need more volume in there. They need more stuff happening there for there to be less volatility, more stability to create proper regulation. That's my thought on it.
I'm a little more skeptical than you there, Dan. That's very positive thinking.
Yeah, but you're in New York and you live and you work in academia. Of course you are.
Well, my thought is, I mean, Occam's razor explains a lot of Trump's behavior, I think, personally. And that is that the simplest thing is at play here, and the simplest thing is that he's really looking out for his own interests. So there's always, as you said, he always kind of sometimes blurts out his plans beforehand, right?
Well,
in hints, if you look back. So what worried me though? All right, go for it. Talk.
Well, hold on, Occam. If you're going to use Occam's razor, I'm just saying. I'm going to let you finish.
Thanks, Kanye.
But Beyonce had the best of it. No wait. I think that Occam's razor only works with what the quote is, right? With all things considered, with all things being equal, the simplest explanation tends to be the most correct one. Now, not all things are equal because there's too many question marks here about exactly what is on the table here. So it's not being objective. It's kind of being subjective to what you're. And again, that's why I said I am speculating as well.
Correct. We're just
But
all
I'm just saying,
speculating
you
here.
can't use Occam's razor here, at least to me. Can't use Occam's razor because not all is equal.
Fair enough.
So,
And I'll
but
just
go ahead. Go ahead. You finish. You finish.
we'll go with the simplest solution here is usually what I've seen work with him, and this is so my thought is that most of the stuff that he does is in line with some sort of idea that he has to benefit himself, and most of the things I've seen as well, while they may appear to benefit larger groups as a whole, are still benefiting himself, and perhaps that was the main reason to do it, or perhaps the idea was presented to him and he goes along with it because it would also benefit himself. So I mean, if that's his personality or whatever, that he's a businessman, of course you're going to want to do things that benefit yourself. I don't know if that should be done from the office of the presidency, but whatever. So my worry is that if you listen
Your
to him,
worry is that Doge is going to go after your budget. That's your worry, okay, QX? I know.
We're private. We're a land grant institution. We do have some funds, but it's mainly private institution. Anyway, so if you remember when he was talking about, when people were asking him questions about the Trump coin, right? When it spiked to like 34 or 43 billion, whatever the hell it was. Now, there are two ways you can interpret what he said, right? He looked at them, or he didn't even look. I think he was signing stuff at the desk at the Oval Office, and he said 34 billion, 43 billion. Oh, that's nothing compared to, I don't know if he stopped a sentence or he made it indicate that that's nothing yet, kind of thing. So either he's being what he's been before, where he's, pompous and is like, oh, that's nothing, that's barely anything, kind of thing. Or there's some serious plans in his head to make a decent amount of money, right? And
to buy Greenland. It's how much is the GDP of Greenland?
I don't know. What is it? Let's look. Gee.
Exactly. Listen, I think we're running pretty short on time. Let's get
3.2 billion. Yeah. But
exactly.
Anyway,
You can buy like 15 Greenlands.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is that something like Ergo exists outside of these walls, right? Something like Ergo, Ergo would benefit, of course, like all other cryptos, if Trump had some deregulation, or even, it'd be fantastic if at least some more clarity and more defined guidelines and boundaries and rules would come out in the US for crypto, instead of what we've had for the last X years, where who knows if you're breaking the rules, right? Who knows if you're doing this? So that's a positive step, right? Let's get some clear things in place of how things are done and what we do. So Ergo will benefit from that stuff, as well as, even if Trump starts a Bitcoin reserve and starts pumping into that, Ergo is going to benefit from that. All ships are going to rise in crypto. Yeah, gotcha. But the point I'm trying to make, Dan, is that Ergo can survive without that, right? Ergo can survive in a state of privacy because it's optional. We're deregulated, essentially decentralized, because anybody can run a node in any country with just a small computer. We have amazing open source tooling that anybody can jump onto and use. So when I see these storms out there that are rip roaring, and people like Trump are not ripping up, but moving around and getting hype up for the crypto markets and that kind of thing. Yeah, that's great. But I feel like here we are in our Ergo juggernaut, and any of these storms, while it may rock the boat a little bit, it's just a Thursday night storm for Ergo. No big deal. We can, we'll persevere through everything. That's what it's built for. I guess is my ending point there, Dan.
Well, and that's a good point. And I'm sorry that happened, or I'm very happy for you.
All right, let's get a question. What do we have? Here we go. This is a good one. Mohammed Esmer, our favorite, non-favorite person who likes to trash, who has gotten banned from main chat like 300 times. He says, QX and Daniel argue live about who is a better Pinocchio. So he's calling us a liar. So I don't know about what, maybe about the positivity Ergo, but I want to take this chance to remind people that while Ergo is an open ecosystem and It's free to use. Anybody can use it. Do what they want with it. Take as much control as they want to. Federated social platforms are not. Discord is not. Telegram is not. So if somebody like Muhammad's going to come on there and not provide proper discourse, not, have conversations, but have agendas to FUD or do anything like this, you bet your ass the owner of those federated systems is going to hold them accountable for the guidelines of the chats, and they're going to be kicked out. So be prepared for that, folks. We had a prominent member of the ecosystem that was kicked out for their behavior a couple weeks ago, and it still does not ring well with them, and they just cannot understand the difference between open systems and federated systems, which is really funny because of what they were working on. So if you don't like the Ergo chats, if you don't like being held to community rules, which I will say are so much looser than any other crypto chats I've been in ever. Ergo allows so much FUD as a form of discourse going in there, right? I mean, you've been in there, Dan, right? Like, people are allowed to speak their mind, and we chat about it, and we like challenges. So you're already at a very loose space in a federated chat with community guidelines. So just be aware of that, guys.
Was that prominent community member you, QX?
No, I won't mention a name. The Sigmanauts know. We were discussing it the other day.
Okay, well, it's probably you.
Yes.
But anyway, let's get to maybe one or two real questions before we sign off for the evening. Let's see. When subblocks, do you know?
Oh, is that Pulsar? Pulsars, it's so good to see you. Pulsar's been busy in real life, so it's nice to have him pop in here. Soon, Pulsar. So the epics are out of the way. The voting has been done, I think, on Testnet to get that node there. So that was a holdup with what they're testing on. So more testing there. I guess we're at that stage from what we were waiting on a while ago. So soon, it's moving, Pulsars. It's moving. Maybe you should help Kushti, Pulsar. Pulsar is an expert in, I think it's C#, is it? I can't remember. But he rewrote Fleet SEK into Fleet Sharp, so that there's more options of programming against Ergo libraries, which is fantastic. Pulsar, you're my hero. All right, next question.
Okay, we got one from Wendy Moon. Do you think it would make more sense to promote, or would make sense to promote Ergo platform to non-crypto folks using terminology other than crypto, because the average person is losing trust in crypto thanks to meme scams? Yeah. So okay. Well, let me just throw kind of like my 25 cents of thing in here. And then you can follow up on that QX, because
I will. I'll follow up, Dan.
Yeah, you just keep talking and talking.
Yep.
Anyway, so my feeling, and this is not just for Ergo, I think, the same thing comes up in Cardano as well, and others, like when mainstream marketing, and it's like, well, okay. Okay, so and I think actually I spoke about this before, who knows who Underwriter Laboratories are? UL. Now, if you're an electronics person, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but the average consumer, you guys who are the average consumer of electronics, do you know who Underwriter Laboratories are? UL.
They're the global safety science company with more than a century of expertise in innovating safety solutions.
They are, but that's the thing, the average electronic consumer does not know what UL is, but UL is like one of the backbones of electronic safety in the US and possibly the world, and have been for over a century. And why do you not hear about the UL? Well, because the UL provides a very, very needed and robust function that other products can be built on or built against or be benchmarked against. And so while you don't, they try to like promote them like back in the day, I think. And in fact, if you look on your electronics somewhere, you're going to see the UL logo. But for the main part, they're not going to be. You're not going to be buying like a Sony TV, and somebody's going to say, "Oh, well, this is UL approved." You know, but Sony is not gonna ask UL to market their TV for them. They're going to use UL technology to create a better TV and then market it themselves. So that's what I think, personally, and as a business owner, and as somebody who's building on Ergo and Cardano, I think that it's actually the project's responsibility to promote their product, versus the ecosystem kind of trying to push them as a project in the ecosystem. Of course, support is greatly appreciated and is needed to sometimes kind of invigorate the ecosystem or prop it up. But I really think that it should be up to the project. Individual projects building on Ergo should be out there promoting and talking to the non-crypto people, because those are going to be their users. Just like what we're doing with Palmyra. I mean, we don't really talk too much about Winter Protocol, which runs on Ergo. We talk about the utility, and when Theodore, our head of business development, went to Greece a couple of months ago, he had zero conversations about Ergo there. Zero. He had zero conversations about technology there. He had, but what's under the hood type of technology conversations. What he spoke about is the solution, the solution that will help these guys be able to export their olive oil and get a better profit on their olive oil. And yeah, under the hood, it uses blockchain, it uses Ergo. But in the end, the solution is what we offered them. And nobody had any questions. Nobody was asking, oh, well, wait a second. So how does the blockchain do stuff here? It's like, well, they don't care. They just know that they can use this thing. It's going to make their lives easier, and they're going to make more money. That's it. So yes, that's what I think. And like I said, I'm not saying that the ecosystem should not be doing some sort of a advertising type of thing if there are funds, and if that ecosystem is actually designed for that, because some are not. Some are just designed to be kind of like the tool chest to build on. But I think that, like, mainly it's just basically project's responsibility to promote the solution that they created. So that's what I think. What do you think, UX? You are muted.
How did that happen?
That happened when you press the mute button.
Oh, is that what that does? Oh my goodness. So what I was lip syncing earlier is that the Ergo Foundation has been doing this for a long time, right? They've been promoting a grassroots approach of, here's a tool, here's how it works, here's what you can use it for, here's how you can also build, here's some code you can learn, all that kind of stuff. So when I parse this out with current times, I'm thinking that when a lot of people say marketing and getting Ergo out there, who do they mean that we're trying to get it to? Are we trying to get it to people that are going to buy and sell, buy low, sell high, and just price speculate? Or are you talking about, let's get it out there, like things like Dan's doing, things like I'm doing with my students, things like other people are doing, where you're using utility to make something and have people use that thing. And yeah, they may know that it's Ergo, they may not, but you're using the product. Like, we specifically went with Tipperbot at Cornell because I'm not going to sit there and try to explain to people what a wallet is, how to use it. 1,000 students, I'm not going to sit there and say, here's how you do this, here's how you do that. Instead, it's just like, here's what we're doing. If you want a free plot, then sign up for this and you'll get tipped and you'll go from there. So building systems around Ergo that people don't necessarily have to know. So I think Ergo Foundation's been doing that. And that's what a lot of people don't like, because they want the other type of marketing, which is, let's get people in here to just buy and not utilize. So it's I don't know, Dan. It's tough. You definitely need those are two different teams, right? There's a team for that, and then there's a team for what the ES been doing as far as promoting utility and usage of the chain. So I don't really have a better answer than what I just
I mean,
spouted.
I think that's fair. You know, that's a fair answer. Like I said, some ecosystems are not, you know, they're not VC ecosystems where you just basically, it's really not about the tooling as much as it is about pumping the price and you know, having the Silicon Valley approach to marketing that we're kind of trying to get away in a way. And so yeah, so these guys are going to pump the price and they're going to fill their ecosystem with bullshit, and but it's going to be big, you know. Oh, you know, we have.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are pumping first, utility later, right? It's like
Yeah, exactly.
let's get the money in, and we'll figure out how to fix issues
like
later.
Ergo wasn't born like that. Ergo was born with the utility, you know. So we can't expect it to become that. Now, like I said, I'm not diminishing the need for exposure.
Correct.
But we have
I think
to
we just need to be
understand.
conscious of what we're looking for, what you know,
Yeah,
how we go about
exactly.
it.
That's exactly it. You know, who are we advertising it to? Now, Wendy Moon was talking about non-crypto people. That okay, that's good. But like I said, that I feel is a more of a project responsibility than the say the foundation. But yeah, if you're talking about tooling, um, then yeah, that's something that you want to market to maybe developers, you know, obviously, or somebody who's somebody who's designing a project. And again, that's a different type of marketing.
Well, my 17-year-old child wrote me 2 days ago when they were at school and said, "Hey, Dad, thanks for being terrible." Well, they didn't say that. Just kidding.
Yeah, they do.
They said. They've been speaking to me off and on about their economics teacher who is very anti-crypto, right? So the economics teacher is giving the same old tired arguments of, oh, it's money from nothing and there's no value and it's a bunch of scams. Okay, I get it. You know, those are the things that we get from those kind of uninformed people. So they're asking a question. They sent a bunch of texts from an email write-up that the economics professor did. About their latest chapter and about crypto. So I gave it a nice rebuttal, and just, you know, with those kind of things, it's simple. It's like you talk about what putting a value, what it means to create a financial system, right? And how is gold or dollar, you know, any different in a value putting in, besides it's propping up markets right now, right? That's the only thing they have. But initially, people put value on objects or things or monies, right? Same with crypto. And then explaining to them that proof of work crypto actually takes a conversion of energy to create a store of value as well. And then I got into a brief discussion with them about inflationary measures, right? And how if there's an issue in the US, we just turn on the printing machine and print more dollars to pay for it, thus increasing prices across the board for everything. And not just naturally increase when large corporations see inflation going right, they jack their prices up before it even happens. It's like this preemptive thing of an excuse to jack up your prices. So it's all like some snowball avalanche effect. So spoke about that, and my child was actually, that kind of makes sense. So I forgot to write, but I was going to say, hey, if you want somebody to come in and debate with him in class about it and chat about with him, I'd be happy to. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But so that brings me hope that the young generation at least can be like, oh, you know, that does kind of seem stupid that we just continue to print our own money, you know, out of thin air. And then people say that crypto has no real value. You're like, okay,
Well, it's basically, yeah, like you said, it's basically people don't understand the core concept of why money has value. You know,
yeah.
why does fiat have value, any kind of perceived value. So that's definitely you know, that's definitely a big deal because like, it's just not it comes from lack of understanding of their own you know, field of expertise. But anyway,
But
yeah,
speaking to Wendy one last time, Dan, I think with Ergo and with any chain that has utility, you're going to see adoption by everyday people by things like Dan. Maybe there are even services that are centralized that are using decentralized tools, you know, right? You could create a service that Is it like, right? We have like LastPass, right? It stores all of your freaking passwords, all in their security enclave, and you just know your one big password. Things like that could exist for Ergo for multiple wallets and exchanges and things like that, or any crypto, you know? Nothing I would use. The hell that I'm going to put my seed phrase on some server. The only place my seed phrase is public is Louis Vatra's Tipperbot, right? That's the only place that my seed phrase exists online for the Tipperbot wallet. But other people may be comfortable doing that. They might want that security. And with that cost comes an extra cost, perhaps. And then with that comes like insurance for, you know, scams that they go through. So all this kind of stuff can be built on top of what we have already on Ergo or any other chain that takes utility and actually building seriously. So we'll get there, Wendy. I think we'll get there. Yeah.
We will. We will. All right. Well, I need to wrap it up for today because actually I got another.
It's only like 11 o'clock, Dan.
Yeah, but I got a space coming up.
What time? How long?
Pretty soon. And before that, I have to do stuff.
Oh, yeah, a honey-do list. All right, what else do we have? Any other questions in here real quick?
Let's see.
Nothing that can't be asked in chat. Oh, we got a brand new Sigma. Oh, here we go. Hi, brand new Sigmanauts here. Welcome, Rich Hughes. What is my best way to? What is my best bet to present my ideas but protect my IP? I'm looking to meet and safely give my team ideas / work. Do you mean on Ergo, Rich? So it's. Yeah, that's a tough question. So, you know, Ergo embraces open source, but we also have a mix of open source and closed source. You'll find a lot like people will write smart contracts that are open source, right? So like Spectrum, like Mu Finance, like Duck Pools, right? Contracts are open source. But then they close source their UI, which is their unique blend of that kind of thing. So I would say if that's what you're asking, you can do, and you still want to be as open source as you can in the Ergo ecosystem. If you're closing anything off, you need to provide innovation in that closedness, right? So let's say you create a tool or a tooling, you open source the contracts, and you have some whiz-bang UI that you're hosting. It costs resources to host, and you're doing that. But then perhaps you can also offer some, you know, open source version of that earlier version beta UI that can be on GitHub that somebody could download and run your app themselves without having to rely on your web service. So there's blends of that kind of thing. But it is a tough question, Dan, right? How do you protect your IP when we're in a fully open source place where anybody could take your stuff and run with it and do better than you at it? It's a tough one.
Yeah,
but overall, it makes the space better. It does. But there are ways, Rich, that you can still, I mean, closed source stuff in Ergo isn't shunned. You know, people, it's just about expectations and what's the word I'm looking for?
Trade-offs. It's all about trade-offs.
Yeah, trade-offs. But be transparent about it, Rich. If you're building something and you publish some of it, you don't publish the other stuff, don't hide it. Say, this is what we're doing. We feel this early on, if we release our UI to everybody, somebody can easily take over and blow all the hard work we've done. So we're going to keep our UI private until version 3. Then maybe we'll open source version 1 UI on top of the open source smart contracts that we've done in 2 years or something like that. So there's definitely options out there. And like I said before, with Ergo, at least, with things like Nautilus, I can interact with closed source systems like closed source UIs, and I can still see everything that's going on. I can look at that information in the advanced mode in Nautilus, and I can see, okay, here are all my outputs, here are all my inputs, and I'll see what's going on. So even when interacting with those kind of things, still as the user, I have other tools that allow me to exactly see if I'm going to be scammed or messed with or anything like that.
Yeah.
All right, Dan.
Agreed. All right. Well, we good?
We're good, Dan. We're good. I mean, you came 15 minutes late, and we're leaving 5 minutes early from that. So you owe us 5 minutes in some other time. So you got to make it up.
I'll do it in some other time. I'll do it at IHOP.
That sounds good, Dan.
I'll give you an extra 5 minutes at IHOP.
Speaking of IHOP, their competitor Waffle House is charging 30 cents extra an egg, or is it 50 cents extra an egg? Would IHOP ever do that, Dan?
IHOP not.
That's clever. Good way to end it. Everybody, have a great week. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot, everyone. See you next week.